have a spiritual thought that if someone has one that they would like to share. If not, we can just go forward. Okay, so our first question, I'll just read it. Each group member share one word that you felt described your negotiation experience, and why did you feel that way? We can just start off from there. And I don't know if Jake is here, but I guess we can start with Lacey.
Okay, well, I chose the word considerate because we took, like, somebody would suggest something and we would sit there and, go back and forth. Hey, that doesn't work for me. Let's do this. I don't think ours ever got that tense. We just kind of worked our way through it. So I put considerate as our word.
Oh, that's good. Okay, we'll go back to Jake. What about you?
Yeah, so I guess mine would be intense. Just because the whole time it was just like a giant argument for like an hour and a half. It was crazy.
Rebecca?
I would say it was strong-willed but respectful.
Sharon?
I chose the word long. And because I did find it interesting and engaging, I used those other words as well, but if I had to pick the top one, I would say long. But just because it was long, and we all, I think, kind of had kids like demanding our attention, like mine was yelling down the stairs, "Mom, I'm hungry," and I was like, I don't know if you heard that, Rebecca, but I'm like, oh my God. I was in a normal negotiation. I imagine, you're in a room and you don't have your kids or whatever trying to get your attention, but it's long. So yeah.
Well, mine was passive. My character, I feel like I just had to defend myself on every single aspect, and maybe a bit, I don't know, maybe selfish could be another word, just because everyone was themselves and how they could get the most.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So, does anyone think that in negotiations, you and the people can keep a great relationship with the people you're negotiating with? So why?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm letting you do it.
Okay, I thought our group could maintain a great relationship because we were listening to each other and, okay, well, how about we do this instead? We really tried to do what was best for all involved.
I was just going to say something along those same lines, Lacey, that I think when in negotiating, if you can really consider how everyone as a whole can benefit, how everyone can walk away feeling as if they were treated fairly, that's really, so my answer to that was absolutely, you could. I don't know, I assume our particular group could. I don't know if it was that or just in general, but I believe absolutely you can. If you're thinking for, the benefit of the whole versus just how can I beat everyone and come out the best, selfish, like you said, Paige.
Yeah.
Well,
I definitely.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to add to that, as we did that, it built our trust and made it easier as we went along, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Oh gosh, what was I gonna say?
With your
Sorry.
With your guys, did you guys get to the point where you were like, okay, just tell me what you have to have in order to like satisfy the game, and then we'll all. Did you guys get to that point? Because our team got to that point. We're like, okay, look, this is a simulation. What does the simulation tell us we have to do in order to everyone win?
That's right.
And like once we got there, it totally changed the discussion.
Oh,
I mean, was that just our group?
Yeah, we didn't either.
Jake, did you guys do that?
Yeah, like an hour and a half in, I was like, okay, what do you guys need? I'm done with this.
You can have whatever you want.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was like, as long as I'm getting above what I need and you guys are getting above what you need, then I'm happy.
Oh my gosh, our meeting only took like 30 minutes.
Really? Gosh, yours is short.
Yeah.
An hour.
Ours is a little more. I think it was
Right.
like an hour and 8. I think something like that. Just a little over an hour.
Oh my gosh. Maybe I should have fought more. Let's see. Okay, so the founders negotiated an agreement in November. Now Michael realized that he is doing most of the work. Is it fair to ask for a renegotiation? Shall we just go down the line again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't think it's unfair that he asked for renegotiation. I just felt like it was too soon. I just felt like, oh my gosh, 3 months later and I'm doing all the work. I'm like, did you give the other teammates? I don't know. I guess maybe they should have put some sort of deadline or some sort of like time expectation. Like you're expected to work 15 hours every week on this venture. I don't know. Maybe if they put that on, then I wouldn't feel like it was too soon. But I felt like it's like, oh, it's November. And then literally 6 weeks later, people are like, I'm doing all the work. You're like, it's only been 6 weeks. Breathe a little. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great point. Anyone else have thoughts?
I totally agree with Rebecca. I think it was way too soon. I think if you wanted to renegotiate, or honest, personally, I think even in the first place, they could have said, okay, guys, before we negotiate equity, maybe let's just give it a 90-day grace period. You know, you get hired on somewhere, you have a 90-day period so that they know whether or not you're going to commit, and you know whether or not, because I mean, there's still questions, right? Fuchs still has this other salary, you know, George still kept his options open, if you remember, for the summer. So I think some sort of grace period, even before they really were set on terms. I don't know, but I agree. It was too soon.
And I had kind of a different thought, because I understood it that their initial thing was only for the initial setup. And so now that they're really getting it going and getting angel investors involved, I think they really needed to renegotiate, because they have, how are you saying it, Fook?
Yes.
That is earning a salary, but if he's not getting enough of the equity, he's not going to be willing to, I mean, why would you put work into something if you're not getting paid for it? So I thought that renegotiation was a good idea at this point.
You know, at this point, I'm sorry, had Fook agreed already to the 70,000? That was the November agreement, wasn't it?
Hold on, I'm looking at it because when Lacey said that, I thought, wait a second, didn't Fook already agree on a salary?
Yeah, he already agreed, or that was my understanding. Let me see.
He did. He had agreed, but it was like, what is he making now? 150,000. So it's a huge pay cut, and he's still working for the other companies as well, if I remember right.
He is.
And so I thought that it was okay to ask for a renegotiation, because I thought he was kind of getting the short end of the stick.
But Fook didn't ask for the renegotiation.
No.
It was Michael.
No.
So I think that Fook must have been at least fine with what happened, because he's not the one that demanded it. It was Michael.
That's true. I hadn't thought of that.
Okay, it just says the one-page partnership agreement. They get the split share on the founder's equity except for the 5%. That goes from Michael. So maybe Fook didn't have it. Maybe he didn't have a salary yet.
Oh, actually, you know what? Maybe it does say that. I think it says somewhere. I think I remember reading at this point, Fook didn't have a salary.
Yeah, I don't think he has a salary right now, but he's talking about going forward, he's going to reduce his job. And when he reduces his job, he's going to get a major pay cut. And then he's going to need something to supplement everything.
Right.
So yeah, like, I think it's fair to ask for renegotiation. I think my thoughts were just that I probably, you know, like you guys, I probably wouldn't have made a contract that early, just especially going forward into winter break and summer break. And those are typically times where people get distracted or find new passions. And so I probably wouldn't have, entered like serious binding contracts before like long-term separation from these people. Well, and short-term, the winter break and then summer break. So yeah, I think it's fair to offer renegotiation. Do you have any thoughts?
I think that Michael also may have had a little bit of a skewed perspective. I do think he was doing more of the work, but I think that maybe because of the lack of salary on Pook's end, that he may have been a little bit skewed just because he felt like he was doing all the work. I don't know. He did find that angel investor, but I almost wonder if he didn't see other people's point of views.
I could see that. I agree. I think it's really easy to believe you're the hardest worker and not realize, right? Like, I think that's very human, Michael, as well as the rest of us. And I think that in this situation, you know, he was like, well, George didn't find it. I found the angel investor, so clearly I'm working harder. And you're like, well, you found somebody who was interested. So one of your baits worked. But that doesn't mean everybody else is baiting for it. And again, he wasn't working full time because he had a real job. And so again, I think that there's no expectation of how many hours they were supposed to put into the business. So
Yeah, and also Fook did mention that like the work that he was doing is not like as tangible as what they could do. Like he found an angel investor. He's doing the same. So he's doing work. You know, if he didn't know what to look for. Exactly. So I guess moving on, when do you guys think renegotiations should be allowed? Just whenever someone feels like they're doing like more of the work, or once you enter a negotiation, no matter what happens, do you think like that's the deal? That's what you made? Sorry. So I guess when I'm asking the question, number 4, the second bullet point, just do you guys think negotiations should be considered whenever a teammate feels like it?
No.
No, why?
Just because then they would just be constantly going on, like new people would join the company, and then it would be like, well, I want some of this, and then it would just like having to be like an ongoing process. I just don't think that would be beneficial, I guess, to the company.
it sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
I do think they need to have a plan for when renegotiation will take place, though, because as a company grows, it's going to need to change. So maybe look at it on a yearly basis or something like that.
But I think you can also build in models for like, you know, what if the founders want to leave? Here are the 3 ways they can leave. What if we want to introduce an additional founder? Here's the 3 ways we can. I mean, I think you can build some of that into the model to begin with, so that there's more of a seamless transition instead of this like highly emotionally charged moment.
Oh, I definitely agree with that too.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, that's a good
At the
idea.
beginning, have a policy. That's smart.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess say who thinks that's a good idea to come to an agreement in November?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
hear the question.
Sorry, I'll answer the question. Was it a good idea to come to an agreement in November?
About the equity split?
Yeah, November agreement.
Yeah, I think that was a good idea. So I'll vote yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Yeah. Why
think-
do you? I mean, I guess you probably would.
Are you going to explain? Is that what you said, Paige?
Yeah, I was gonna have to explain, but I think you've kind of already explained it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But yeah. So, Lacey, were you gonna say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it was a good idea. I think it's necessary early on to decide kind of how it's going to be split so that it's not emotionally charged later. So I think November was a good idea for them to have a basic plan. And then I personally think it was good to renegotiate not much later down the road. So
Does anyone disagree with that?
I do, but I think it just goes back to my whole 90-day period thing. And Again, I don't know what the protocol is. I've never had a startup or had to negotiate equity with anyone, but I would like to know who's going to be committed to a specific company before I start doling out equity personally.
Yeah.
And I think 90 days is fair. I think it's a good period of time to determine whether or not you're in or you're out. So.
Yeah.
It was almost 90 days though, wasn't it? Because didn't they start in early November? So if they would have gone to the end of February, it would have been 90 days, give or take.
True. But I think what you do is you set those terms in the beginning and say, okay, guys, hey, we're starting, you know. And they did say that I think equity would be granted based on merit. Didn't they say that? And so that way they could actually have something to go on, you know? They can, because like I said, it seems to say, oh, I'm working too hard, or I'm working more than everybody else. Well, in 90 days, at least you have an idea that, okay, I'm going to be measured on this. I want people to feel that I'm in, I'm committed. At least there's something to go by. Whereas, you know, here they get this angel investor right before they go on vacation, and then we try and determine, you know, oh, they're not working. Well, yeah, I mean, they were on Christmas break, so I'm sorry, I'm rambling, but
Not at all.
No, that's a really great point.
I'm way rambling. Hopefully that you know what I'm trying to say.
I felt like the one-page summary was like the beginning of a conversation that they didn't finish well, right? So they put this one-page summary, and then they're like, "Goodbye, everyone, into the void," and then and nobody really knew what. I mean, like they said, like in the case here, that Michael and George didn't know what their jobs were in the company, even though they were all founders. One wasn't marketing and branding. One wasn't investment and banking. So that makes they didn't create any clear guidelines or expectations. They just said, "Go work," and clearly everyone's definition of what that meant wasn't what Michael intended.
Right. That's a really good point. And I think that's kind of common too. For other things that in previous classes that people, they wear many different hats, right? It's kind of a common thing. So I think it would be smart, like you said, to draw distinct lines right at the beginning, even if it is you wear these 4 hats or.
Yeah, good point. So who stands to benefit the most from keeping the November agreement?
I thought George did.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed the question again. It keeps cutting out on me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it my computer?
I don't know.
So, who stands to benefit the most from keeping the November agreement?
I think George as well. I think.
It's like it's either Fook or George.
Yeah, I think it was Fook.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
In my
I
group,
thought,
it was Fook.
Really?
I thought it was Michael or
Oh.
George.
Yeah, I want to.
But Michael's the one who wants to renegotiate for more. So I mean, if they keep the November negotiation, Michael will believe that he didn't get what he wanted. Whereas like George and Fook are the one who are like, I mean, like at least our team, Fook and George are the most passionate.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, same here, I guess. That's true.
Because Fook wanted more, right? Like when they brought it to the table, he was like, all right, then let's do this. And I want more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? No, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
that was Michael. So tell me why.
Well, oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. I like my internet just keeps cutting in and out, so I have no idea what's going on.
I think it was Michael because, you know, as I looked at him, yes, he was the one asking for more, but maybe it was just because I had hindsight and I knew how our negotiation was going to turn out somewhat. That I was like, he's not going to get what he wants. So I think it would be better for him if he stuck with the November negotiation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you, Lacey. That's what I put. That Michael would benefit the most. I mean, just because I know that Fook and like he wanted more equity, couldn't really get more equity without Michael giving up some equity, or George. And plus, he's like the founder. He's like the main guy. He doesn't have a threat like, oh, I can walk away. Like this is his thing. So I think he had a little less to. Okay, so who stands to benefit the most from renegotiating in February?
I think it's Fook as well.
I agree. I just barely got kind of, I'm sorry, everyone's kind of cutting out, but I think I can hear you now. But I agree. If it was February, for Fook to benefit the most. Is that what you guys said?
Yeah.
But Michael was the one who brought the proposal, and if he renegotiated in February, the proposal would end up with him owning 45% of the company, and George owning 28% and Fook owning 26%. So if you go from the 33% they started out with, right, 33 to 45% is a huge amount, could represent a huge amount of money. So I felt like Michael really benefited if he got what the proposal he wanted. Or even close to it. I mean, even if he just accepted 43%, then it's still a 10% jump in ownership.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah,
I was
but
thinking salary.
Do we know that worked? Do we know, is that like actually what happened, or is that just what he's wanting?
Well, in our negotiations, I think Michael ended up with 44%. Is that what you got, Sharon, was 44%?
Yeah.
In our case study, I think he ended up with 43. So
he ended up with 45 in mine.
So I mean, so like Michael, you know, in that regard, he still has the most financial possibility of return on his investment in that regard. But Fook definitely got a salary, and in ours, he only got 80,000, right? I don't remember. Anyhow, so like I think from the salary perspective, Fook totally won because
Michael ended up.
But the salary was going to happen regardless, right?
In that.
What, Sharon? Did we lose Sharon? Right, because like wasn't Fook's salary already on the table? They just because they didn't have an investor couldn't pay him until after the investor showed up, right?
Yes.
Wasn't that part of it? So I feel like Fook getting a salary wasn't necessarily a win for him. It was just an expectation that he was going to get one to begin with. And then they put a number to it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to read it now, right? Like I've heard this case like 5 times and I still am, it's all jumbled in my head.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess in my mind, even though Michael did like start the renegotiation, like he lost equity. Well, just from how my group played out, he lost equity, and the split of seed equity in that aspect as well. And he's giving a higher salary to him. So like if he would have just kept it into renegotiation, I think he would have been better off. That, you know, he's in a worse position now. His team members are better. Does that make sense? Yeah. No. Should we move on? Okay. Okay. Let's just go to question 6, if you guys have that.
Yeah.
Discuss how the timing of an equity agreement affects a startup's ability to attract, motivate, and retain founders and early employees. As a group, can you come up with your own rule for when is the best time to negotiate an equity agreement? So I guess we have to come up with a rule together.
I guess like within
I kind of
6
before
months.
there's money or after there's money.
What were you saying, Jake? Sorry.
I was just saying like within the first 6 months of like the company starting up that they should already have figured that out, I guess.
Do we lose?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey.
Yeah. Jake, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, my internet's
Paige,
terrible, so.
That's okay. I can't hear Paige, however.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, now I can. You're cutting in and out.
Yeah, we kind of only hear.
Oh my gosh.
We only hear like every 2/3 of what you're saying. So that's if we start blinking, we're like, I don't know what you just said.
Oh no. Oh my gosh.
It sounded like a good comment.
Look, that's why there's those really long pauses after.
Yeah.
So do we think it should go before they get money, Paige, or after they get money? Because I feel like that's like, before it's all just fancy, but the moment there's money in the company, then it's like real. So should we do it before they get money or after they get an angel investor?
Oh my gosh.
And what about if like they, like, because at the beginning, didn't Michael and George both put like $5,000 in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So then would you have to talk about equity? Because now there is a little bit of money that you can play with. I feel like once money, like real tangible money comes into play, you want to know how this is all going to work out, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think you kind of want to know beforehand because otherwise it might be harder to come to an agreement. Maybe a little bit more selfishness going on, and I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of liked what Sharon was saying earlier, like having a grace period of a certain amount of time. So like just assume if people put in money, however much like money they put in, let's say, is like until, and like monitor their like they're going to be putting in, and then after like 90 days, for example, or maybe a bit longer, then like decide based on people's performance and maybe there you can provide equity. I don't know.
Because like if they had decided, they kind of talked about with Michael, Warren, and George, right? They talked about calling them founders or whatever, and then, but even at that point, Michael was grumpy about Warren, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he didn't put any money in, and he didn't, so I feel like maybe Michael's just grumpy. And the real thing we should learn is not have grumpy people in our family.
Just say no to grumpy.
Yeah, so maybe I think you're right, Lacey. If you just at least casually understand that you're gonna do it evenly across the board, or based on how much seat you have, I don't know. Okay, you decide.
Sounds good to me.
Sorry.
So I'm writing evenly across the board until further notice, until something happens.
That's
it. Okay. That's our rule. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we're supposed to talk about is the results from our class. Did you guys get like negotiations?
I emailed Brother Mitchell about that, and he says that not enough of the groups have completed the simulation for him to have that data. So that's awesome.
Okay.
So I think we should just skip it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I guess we could all. I guess
final.
We could answer them based on all our own group, though.
Yeah.
Like who thought the role, like the one that says you think Fook wanted most from this. I guess I could answer those questions, but.
Okay. Well, yeah, you can start with Arthur.
So I was Fook, right? And I don't. Was anybody else Fook?
No.
I was.
You were Fook too. Is that what you said, Paige?
Yeah, me and Lacey as well.
Oh, so we're all Fook. So we all realized that Fook was like, at any point was like, and I'm leaving. Like that was just his like go-to comment, and I'm gone. Sorry. If you don't get it my way, then I'm leaving. I'm out of here. So I felt like Fook was kind of, I don't know, I felt like he was almost blackmailing them at times. Like, if you don't give me these 11 things I want in the right framework, I'm just going to quit. And for me, I'm like, that's kind of like a big sign to the other people, right, that maybe I'm not fully committed to this idea. And then I felt like George loved Warren way too much. Like, he hearted Warren with a moon and down. And Sharon was Michael and was adorable the entire time. So.
I think Michael had the easiest case to negotiate. Like, I didn't feel like I didn't lose as many points for certain things, I felt like. And I don't know, I didn't see everybody's score sheets, but I thought really it was like George and Michael seemed to be kind of pitted against each other. In our group, it seemed that anyway. I don't know. Or George and Food. Did I say that? I don't know. That's what I meant.
Yeah. I guess do you guys remember your scores that you got as Food?
I think we got 40 exactly.
Is that what we got?
Fluke's score was 40. We got whatever Mariah and I got, like the perfect, no more, no less than we had to get. So I think that was 40.
Oh, that's great.
Does anybody have the site up? Does it show what the scores are?
I had it up here.
I'm scared to open more tabs because my computer's doing really weird things.
Hold on, let me see if I can get there.
Me too. I'll give it a shot.
Wait, what was your question, Sharon?
I was just
Sharon, I'm there. Hold on.
Oh, you're there? Okay,
Yeah.
good. I'm gonna close this because my computer.
Yeah, so like score calculator. Oh no, my score was 60 for Fook.
Okay.
Okay, but Michael. Oh, that was with my. No, hold on. Change this.
Wait, Sharon, what was your score?
I don't know. I need to check it probably, but maybe it doesn't matter if I navigate all. It seems like when I navigate though,
My score was 44.
okay. But what was yours, Jake? You or Michael too?
Yeah. We were supposed to get better than negative 220 points, and I got negative 19.4 points.
See,
yeah,
that
I got
had
screwed over.
room. Like Michael had room to negotiate. I think that's why it was so easy to be chill. Like whatever, you know.
Yeah, I ended up with 40% of the founder's equity.
See, I had
40.25.
You have 42.5?
40.25.
40.25. Oh, you guys got into the nitty gritty. Okay.
It was
Okay,
bad.
I think my group were really easy on me because I got a score of 170
What?
as Fook. That's why mine were so short. They're just too easy.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's amazing.
My group was so annoying.
I felt like every time as Fook we tried to make a concession for Michael, like we were like, okay, George, you can have this, and then Mariah and I would do this. We're like, oh, never mind. Side.
Yeah.
We gave away too much apparently. Like every time we were trying to be thoughtful, or we were like, hey, we can give a little too. It was like, oh nope, sorry, we can't. We got to go back to the horrible negotiations we just made.
You know, I actually had a very similar score to begin with for Fook, but then George offered to drop his founder's equity to 26%, and that bumped me up to 165.
Whoa.
And I was like, yeah, I'll take that, sure.
That's amazing.
That really is.
Jeez.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So I guess we'll wait if someone. We can just move on.
Yeah, because mine
Until-
won't even come up. We have a new tab. The page blinks, and it's really weird. I don't know what's happening. So.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I guess the next part. As a team, draft a new agreement that includes changes that would improve the results of attracting, motivating, and retaining the right people. So if you guys see it, the first point is equity is earned as each member achieves milestones, vesting over time, and an option pool for equity set aside to be earned later. Anyone have any initial thoughts?
My first thought there was, can there be like a combination of two or three or all three of those options? Because if you think about like when you go to work, you know, I used to have a real job. I don't anymore. But when I did, I had, you know, stock options and I had restricted stock and that you would get more. And it would vest, I think the stock options vested after 5 years and the restricted stock vested after 7. So, and then every time you had an annual eval, your equity increased a little bit more. And so I think I like that way of doing it. Like if you like, okay, every year you're evaluated, and based on that, you get a raise in salary, but also in total compensation. Anybody else?
Sounds good to me.
That's fair. I really don't have any experience with any of that.
It's been a while. I haven't had a real job for a couple of years now. But back then, it was nice to see, okay, you know, yes, you're getting a raise in your total base salary that you're taking home, but also, you know, we're increasing X, Y, Z, and then on top of that, you get a bonus. And I mean, all of that, and it's all based on your valuation. And if you get, you know, either a below standard, on par, or above standard eval. So I like the idea of annually evaluating someone. And that way you know the whole year. Okay, well, I can have more money depending on how well I perform.
Okay, yeah. Did
Well,
you
I
think
think
like
that-
should
Sorry.
should they evaluate each other? Or should Michael kind of be the main evaluator?
That's a good question. I can shut up for a minute and let somebody else talk, because I have a thought there too.
Yeah, I don't know.
What was the question?
So, like, if we're going on this, they're evaluating each of the members, who should conduct the evaluation?
Oh. I think it's a terrible idea to let Michael do it. Because he's grumpy, right? That's the grumpy.
Yes.
Their lawyer should do the evaluation. No, I don't know.
my God.
They need a CEO or something to do that.
Yeah.
If they like hire a CEO.
Yeah.
Wasn't that in there that they were going to hire? I know they hired the CTO, which was food.
And then, then they shared authority.
Right.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
It wasn't, no, because Michael even experienced situations in case where he shared authority, and he saw, or he worked for his friend who did share authority, wasn't it? And he saw how poorly that went because nobody could just make the final call.
Yeah.
But then when he started his own business, he decided that share authority is again, I don't know. I agree. I think there needs to be kind of one person that can make that final call.
Do you think that like a peer evaluation could work if they all do some sort of like scorecard sort of thing?
Only if they have specified jobs that they can quantify and measure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
All of it would be based on what Rebecca said. That's exactly right. You have to be able to have strict lines. Exactly.
So I'm just writing this down.
I do still think, though, even with peer evals, that you need to have a level of authority that, I mean, you can hand those peer evals in to that manager or whatever, but that I still think it's the leader that needs to give the final eval.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the case of George and Fluke, they didn't like each other personally, I don't think.
No.
So neither of them are going to give each other a good peer eval, I would think.
Okay, so I guess we decide annually evaluations done by the leader with like peer evaluation if the jobs are measurable.
Right.
Is that what we decided?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so what else? For time, I don't really know.
Yeah, I think that answer is good that we came up with.
But so vesting over time is another one, and then an option pool or equity set aside to be earned later.
I do think we need to have equity that vests. And
Okay.
sorry, I don't know if I interrupted you, Paige. Sorry if I did.
Doesn't.
But I mean, if I got, X amount of shares and they did that there was no vesting time, and I automatically was able to just take all of them. When I left, I'd have all those shares. However, if I know that my shares aren't going to vest for another 5 years, I'm locked in, right? I'm going to be less inclined to go look for something else and be more committed to my job. Like, I think if you want people to stay committed to your company, vest, you need to have a vesting period.
Yeah.
And I do think that as they add more to their executive team, there has to be a way for those individuals to tap into, like, not necessarily the founder shares, but, you know, because, like, wasn't the case, one of the cases last week where the guy wanted half of the founder shares?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, when he came on as a CEO. So I think that, you know, there's got to be some mechanism for individuals to slice and dice the company so everyone's got a piece of the pie, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
I don't know how you do that,
Yeah. Okay.
but, you know.
Sorry, I'm only hearing half of what everybody's saying. So what I heard sounded good.
Well, that's it.
Excellent.
Right.
Deal. I will stop that.
Do we have 2 cases next week? I'm going to look.
We have 2, I think. I just looked